Hello and welcome to this latest video from Battlefield Banter, where you're going to see a playthrough of Command and Colors Napoleonics from GMT games. This is the very first scenario, Battle of Rolica, Day 1, from the base game, and we have added in the Expansion 5 Tacticians deck. So the British have landed in Portugal, and with their Portuguese allies, they are facing off against the French. We have Arthur Wellesley for the British, facing off against the rather outnumbered French General Henri de la Borde. And it is a race to, the victory condition is the first side to achieve 5 flags, and down in the bottom left and right, there are these red objective hexes. There are temporary objective hexes. If the British control either one of those hexes at the start of their turn, they get 1 extra flag for each hex that they control. Let's have a quick look at the cards. I've drawn up my cards. The British have an advantage, 6 cards compared to the French 5. And they have 5 tactics cards compared to the French 4. So looking at these cards, Grand Maneuver, let's start with that one, I think. Alright, well, I think I'm going to play the Grand Maneuver, and the question is, what am I going to do with this? I can issue an order to 4 or fewer units. They can move up to 4 hexes, and may not battle. And after that I draw a tactics card. One thing to bear in mind is it would be a little bit of a waste to issue it to the British units on the left here, because although this is a fordable river, all movement restrictions have to be adhered to in this 4 hexes that they could move. So if they were to splash into the fordable river, they would have to stop at that point. So I'm going to threaten the French left flank with my valiant Portuguese allies, and we will actually just enable, whoops, don't want to do that, get rid of that little yellow marker, there we go. We'll enable all 4 of those, and then we will move them down the left with a view to on a follow-on turn at some point, using this forced march card here. Not sure why we seem to have it doubled up there, but anyway, this forced march card to either storm the French left flank or take this victory hex down the bottom here. Oops. This victory hex down the bottom here, I mean. Alright, so let's go. We're going to move 4 hexes, try and get close enough, but not too close to the French light infantry, so staying 2 hexes away. 1, 2, 3, 4. The cavalry can, with its leader, can go 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the slightly weaker French, Portuguese light infantry. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what we have after drawing up. Attack right flank could be useful, as that's where the action is going to be. And artillery canister. Alright, that might come in handy at some point. Alright, and it's over to Doug to see what his response is.
So, welcome. This is the Doug portion of the Command and Colors Napoleonics scenario, the British v. the French at Rolica. And just for a little bit of context, Mark and I will frequently play simpler kind of you go, I go games over Dropbox using the Vassal modules, because we don't necessarily have time in the busy work schedule, my work schedule. Mark's since retired, thankfully for him. We just don't have time to sit down for a 1 or 2 or 3 hour lengthy gaming session. So we'll kind of scratch the wargaming itch with a little bit of Dropbox back and forth. And we thought that might be a good way to do a playthrough. Recording it, doing the log file, and then separately doing the recording. So this is our first attempt. Now, in this particular game, Mark used the Grand Maneuver card that you see over there to the right to move the Portuguese units much, much closer to this hex that you see I'm highlighting and is shaded in red on the board. There's two of them, one on the right flank and one on the French left flank, that represent victory banners, and there's only 5 needed in this scenario for the British to grab. The French have a tough go of it in trying to defend against this. So let me draw up my cards very quickly. We'll look at the scenario. I'll show the for you guys here on screen. As you can see, he has 6 and 5 in his hand, which I believe he's already shown you, and I have 5 and 4 in my hand. So let me draw those up very quickly. I'll bring that on screen, covering up the map. This is how you do it in Vassal. You go down to Initial Command Draw, 5 for the command cards, and the tactics cards would be 4. And so there you can see my cards, leadership, probe center, take command, take command, take command. That's a little unusual. In the 4 of my 5 cards are all about the leadership. So we'll see how I can put those into play in just a moment. Clearly, he's threatening me on my left. That requires a little bit of a response. I've only got 1 unit over there, a cavalry unit right now against the admittedly very weak Portuguese, but probably the play is going to be do something there in the middle and get my French line unit here up on that defending hill, and maybe perhaps get my light in a little bit better position to defend. So I think we'll do that. And I happen to have the perfect card, probe center. So I'm going to order the French line. I'm going to order the French light, and we'll move 2 spaces closer to defending that hill. Now, hill to hill, it means I'm moving. So I'm going to use that as an attacker and attack the only target within range. Remember, in Command and Colors Napoleonics, infantry only has a 2 hex range. So in this case, and I'll remind the viewers, for the French, your light infantry in a ranged fire dice attack can do 1 die per block plus 1 die if they were standing. But in this case, I was moving. So it's a half die per block, round up, and an additional 1 die. So in that case, 4 figures down to 2, no rounding because it's an even number, and then I add 1. So it'll be for 3 dice. So not too bad of an attack in Napoleonics. So I note there in my log, because I'm going to send this log file back to Mark, so he kind of knows what's going on. You always want to over communicate, not under communicate when you're playing via Vassal module and Dropbox. So 3 dice. So here we go. First French die roll of the game to simulate combat. And basically nothing. An artillery hit, a cavalry hit. This is an infantry and 1 flag, because the Portuguese unit does not have support, which would be defined as 2 units on either side of it, or behind it, or in front of it, what have you. It has to retreat. Now let's just check very quickly the Allies and the Portuguese units, what is involved in their retreat. Sometimes, it's 2 hexes per flag, but here, as you can see in the notes for Portuguese line infantry, it's just 1 hex. So usually when we're doing the Dropbox, you try to make the retreats using what you would do as the opposite player. And so I'm just going to move Mark's unit back 1, and then I will discard my card, and then I'm going to go to my hand here, and I'm going to end turn standard to draw up, end turn, draw card, and you'll see it conveniently adds that card to my deck. and there in the chat log, it indicates it's now the Allies' turn. So overall, not a bad situation. So interesting little scenario, and now it will go back to Mark.
Okay, it's back to the Allies' turn after the French have pushed back the Portuguese on the French left a little bit. It's a quick reminder of the Allied cards. Carrying on the right, I have the attack right flank, and the forced march could be used could be used in that area also. So I'm going to go with the attack right flank, I think. So let's play that card. Attack right flank. There we go, and we have 3 units on the right, which is of course on the top left of your screen, the British right flank. The infantry, the cavalry, did that again, the cavalry with the leader. Oh, I don't know why I can't select the leader. There we go. And then if I turn that off, it's going to, oh well. There we go. And one other unit, I think that would probably be the line to get him a little closer to the action. That's my 3 units activated. So, the light infantry here, French light, is supported but cannot retreat. Its retreat path is blocked, so that's interesting. 1, 2, 3. Now, if I was to go move the infantry out of the way such that the cavalry could get to the hill, -2 if they're going uphill or downhill, but hill to hill, like across the top of the bridge, so to speak, no effect. So let's see. The cavalry, well, the line will have to get out of the way first because units cannot move through their own units. We will close and melee one of these units. The light cavalry will not do that. It will move 1, 2, 3, so it will be able to battle this guy to this guy, hill to hill, or this guy to this guy, should I so choose, but I think I'm going to go with this guy. And then the line infantry here will just move up 1, such that it will still be able to shoot should the need arise if this light infantry unit is still there. Alright, that's my 3 units, and now let's see which sequence shall we be firing. Shall we be doing the fighting? I think the line may as well soften up the light infantry on the hill here. It's only going to be 1 die. So these guys would normally fire with 4, but they've moved, so they will be firing with 2, and it's uphill, so it's only 1 dice. So attacker there, defender there, 1 dice, and just let Doug know my 1 dice. And there we go. They do fire accurately, and the infantry takes a hit. No battle back because it's ranged fire and not melee. So the next unit to attack will be the cavalry, and it will be attacking the light infantry also. And now the French commander has a choice whether he wants to go into square or not. If he does go into square, of course, then the line infantry here will be able to pound him. So let's see what Doug says. So we'll take a brief pause while we get the answer from Doug as to whether he wishes to go into square. Okay, I've heard back from Doug, French commander. He has elected to go into square. As you can see right here, the light infantry has now got a little square formation. And worse news for Doug is, of course, he's had to give up at random selection of one of his cards is now tied up on the board here and unavailable as an option until this unit comes out of square or is eliminated. Okay, so now the light infantry will get to fire first against the light cavalry, but will only be attacking with 1 dice. To be trying to either inflict a casualty on the light cavalry, or even better from their perspective, inflict a bounce flag and force the light cavalry to retreat. So here we go, 1 dice, and it is a casualty, but it is not a bounce flag. So the light cavalry will take 1 hit, and then there will be a leader loss check because the light cavalry is accompanied by a leader. So that's 2 dice. Leader casualty check is passed. So 2 swords would have eliminated the leader. But he lives to fight another day, and so the light cavalry will now attack the infantry in square. They only attack because they're attacking a square with 1 dice. And here we go. And they also inflict a casualty on the light infantry. So war of attrition going on there. Moving on to the next unit then, the line infantry down here will now press the attack against the light infantry in square, because the light infantry in square, they are in square formation, so they cannot retreat, so any flags would actually be a casualty against them. And they do not get support from the backup units down here because they are in square formation. Squares will give support to other units but do not receive support from other units. So moving on to the attack, the line infantry, 4 dice, -1 for uphill is 3 dice. Here we go. And that is enough to eliminate the unit. So I think that is Control H. There we go. It is eliminated, and it is the first flag for the British. Of course, there is no battle back because the unit is eliminated. The line infantry has the option to take the hill. If it does move up here, it will have the advantage of being on the hill, but it will also be adjacent to the line infantry here. Though it will actually take the hill and see what happens, because now at the very least it does get the advantage. So if these units, if it does get attacked by either of these 2 units, it will get us the 1 die advantage of being on the higher elevation. All right, so we'll go back to the cards and draw up, finish the turn. It's this one here. Oops, this one here. Sorry. We'll draw 1 command card. There we go. Take command any section. Not too bad. We do have the force march still in our hand, so we can carry on pressing the attack on the British right flank, French left flank, and the take command any section. The way it stands at the moment, we could, if we wanted to, even carry on with these 2 units, but we'll see where those 2 units end up, or even if they are on the field after the French response. So with that, it's back to Doug.
So here we are after the Portuguese army's successful attacks against the French light infantry on the French left, eliminating the French light infantry, allowing the Portuguese line unit to advance up the hill. Now, let me show you my cards that I'm choosing from. We've got leadership, take command left flank, take command any section, and take command center, all leadership oriented cards, because as you can see there in the right hand side of the screen, I am in square, and so I lost my probe center card. Although, because the light unit went into square and then was eliminated, I get my card back. So let me do that and take it in hand. So that does give me 1 additional option. But I think the correct play here for me is to play the take command center card, leaving the take command any section, which is more flexible, is to play that card. which you'll see there, and to order, let's see, issue an order to 1 leader in a center section. The leader and units in up to 3 adjacent linked contiguous hexes to the leader are ordered. So I'm going to be able to order these 3 units that are linked, as well as, as well as the leader. Now, in terms of movement, what I want to try and do is inflict as much damage as I can and move my leader to enable me to play my other cards on subsequent turns. So I'm going to move this unit here. I'm going to move this unit over. And I believe I will leave my foot artillery in place where it is. So let me move this card and actually take a shot at distance off the hill to one of his units. So that's, I do need to move my leader. I think I have a take command any section, a take command left flank. So I'm going to move that leader 1. And actually, I'm looking at my light infantry, skirmish, infantry forward. Well, I'll move him here to set him up to use my take command left flank on my next turn. So obviously Mark would not know what I have in my hand, although you, the viewer, will know. So let's do the foot artillery shot first, so I don't inadvertently forget that. We'll fire against that British line way off in the distance. So that's going to be a 4, 3, 2, a 1 die roll shot. So here we go with the die roll. And 1 hit. So that's good. Let me take that hit off of the French line, knocking him down from 4 figures to 3. The next thing that I will do is I will denote as an attacker my French line against the light cavalry Portuguese. Now, one of the things that light cavalry can do, and this is where in the vassal drop box back and forth, I go, you go, you have to kind of play as your opponent. I would presume that what he wants the light cavalry there to do, rather than attempt to melee off of a hill, although it's hill to hill, he'll probably retire and reform, which commits him to retiring, but makes it so that on the die roll, swords don't count, only the cavalry on the die roll. So that's the advantage there. So we'll do that. I've got 4 die for the French line against the Portuguese light cavalry. Here we go. And we do get a yellow cav as well as a flag, which indicates a retreat, but they're going to retreat anyway. Now, I'm going to presume that that's what Mark wanted to do. What we'll find is when I send this log file back to him, if that's not what he wanted to do, he would interrupt and then go from there. But I'm going to presume he does. So let me take the hit against his unit. That would take the hit. It brings up a leader check, 2 die rolls, and his leader check passes. So I'm going to presume that he is going to retire, and we'll go, whoops, let me put these 2 units together. 1, 2, that'd probably be where he'd go. And again, I'm in the log file, you go, I go, he can always change that. And then I'm going to have my French line advance onto the hill to form a better defense against the Portuguese that are scrambling around. My next attack will be uphill against the Portuguese line. I do believe that's going to yield an advantage, but in the module, let me check the terrain chart, which I'm bringing there so you can see it. A hill, if you're going up a hill, doesn't affect movement, but they're in battle effects. Uphill for infantry that you can see in blue, a -1. Now, that's going to be offset because, as you may recall, and let me bring up the French infantry chart, French line infantry there on the first row in melee get 1 die per block plus an extra die versus infantry. You could argue that's due to Napoleon and the training, and I don't know, however you want to do it, but it is a significant advantage. And one of the subtleties of Command and Colors Napoleonics. Just by the way, the Allies, in terms of the British line, they get a +1 standing range to fire. So the French have an extra ability in melee, the British in ranged fire. So this is a melee. So the French line is going to be 4 upgraded to 5 dice -1 because they're going uphill for a net of 4 dice. And so they get a no effect on the artillery, a no effect on the cav, a retreat for the flag, so they won't be able to battle back, and 1 hit on the infantry. So they will take that hit and they will retreat there. I will advance after combat, and there we go. And so that concludes my move. And I want to make, oh yeah, so there we go. So I believe that's it. Now I will discard the card. I'll come over here to my hand. I'll click on end turn and draw up. Oh, and I get an assault left flank, which, as you viewers can tell, that's going to be a nice card for me to play on the next hand. So we'll just hope that Mark doesn't look at the video in advance, but I'm sure he won't. So now it's going to be back to Mark for his turn.
All right, so we've played 2 turns of the Battle of Rolica, GMT's Command and Colors game, Command and Colors Napoleonics, and we're going to end this episode here, and then post the next episode will be the following 2 turns. One slight change I would make when Doug retreated my light cavalry. When it elected to retire, which is what I would have done, he retreated it this way. I am going to change that to retreat this way here. 1, 2. The reason for that is it gives this unit slightly more flexibility. This unit, or even the general, can be activated by cards which are targeting the British right flank or the center section. So that's the only change. I will terminate the episode here, and we will see you soon for episode 2, which will be turns 3 and 4 of the Battle of Rolica.